In the spring of 1863, the rolling fields of Pennsylvania were stained red. War had come to the land, tearing families apart and testing the mettle of a divided nation. The American Civil War raged on, a brutal conflict between brothers, fathers, and sons. Among those who found themselves entangled in its horrors was Private Samuel Carter, a young man from a small farm in Virginia. Samuel had not wanted to fight. At 19, he was more familiar with the plow than the rifle, his hands accustomed to the warm earth rather than the cold steel of a weapon. But when his elder brother, Thomas, enlisted in the Confederate Army, Samuel felt he had no choice but to follow. Their father had been sickly, and their mother relied on Thomas to tend the farm. Samuel reasoned that if his brother went to war, so would he. Together, they would protect each other. The two brothers marched side by side through the harsh terrains of the South, sharing stories of home during quiet nights by the campfire. But the Battle of Gettysburg would change everything. On the morning of July 2nd, Samuel awoke to the sound of cannon fire. The air was thick with smoke and fear. Confederate forces had taken positions near Little Round Top, and orders came to charge uphill, where Union troops waited. Samuel clutched his rifle tightly, his palms slick with sweat. He stole a glance at Thomas, who gave him a firm nod. "Stay close," Thomas said. "We'll get through this." The charge was chaos. Men screamed as musket balls whizzed past, and the roar of artillery shook the earth. Samuel's heart pounded as he climbed the rocky slope, tripping over bodies and debris. He spotted Thomas ahead, leading the way. But then, a sharp crack split the air, and Thomas fell. Time seemed to slow. Samuel froze, his legs trembling as he watched his brother collapse. The battlefield around him faded, replaced by the image of Thomas lying motionless on the ground. With a surge of adrenaline, Samuel ran to his brother's side, oblivious to the danger. "Thomas," he cried, shaking him. Blood soaked through Thomas's uniform, staining Samuel's hands. "Sam," Thomas whispered, his voice barely audible. "Go, keep fighting." Tears streamed down Samuel's face as he clutched his brother's hand. "I can't leave you," he pleaded. "You must," Thomas said, his grip weakening. "For home. For Ma?" Samuel nodded, swallowing his grief. He rose to his feet, his body shaking but his resolve hardened. With a roar, he rejoined the charge, firing his rifle with newfound determination. The day ended in a bloody stalemate, but Samuel survived, though he felt as though a part of him had died on that hill. The war dragged on for 2 more years. Samuel fought in several more battles, each one eroding his spirit. By the time the Confederacy surrendered in 1865, he was a hollow shell of the boy who had left the farm. Returning home, Samuel found the land overgrown and the farmhouse in disrepair. His mother's embrace was warm, but her eyes were heavy with sorrow. She had lost one son and gained another who no longer smiled. Samuel tried to resume his life as a farmer, but the memories of war haunted him. He often wandered to the edge of the property, where Thomas had built a small wooden bench under an oak tree. There, Samuel would sit for hours, staring into the distance. The silence of the countryside was deafening, a stark contrast to the cacophony of the battlefield. One autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Samuel sat under the oak tree, clutching a small tin box. Inside were Thomas's personal effects, a pocket watch, a tattered Bible, and a letter he had written but never sent. Samuel unfolded the letter carefully. The words were smudged, but he could make out the gist of it. Thomas had written about his hopes for the future, dreaming of a time when the war would end, and they could rebuild the farm together. Tears welled in Samuel's eyes as he read. He realized that Thomas had fought not for glory or politics, but for the simple dream of peace. Inspired, Samuel resolved to honor his brother's memory by restoring the farm to its former glory. He threw himself into the work, repairing the fences, planting crops, and tending to the animals. Slowly, the land began to heal, and so did Samuel. Though the scars of war never fully faded, Samuel found solace in the rhythm of the seasons and the quiet strength of the earth. The oak tree became a place of remembrance, where he would sit and speak to Thomas, sharing his thoughts and dreams. The farm thrived, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Years later, as Samuel grew old and the nation moved forward, he often told his grandchildren stories of the farm, but he rarely spoke of the war. It was a chapter he preferred to keep in silence, a burden he carried alone. Yet, in the strength of his family and the land he had rebuilt, Samuel found a measure of peace, a legacy born from the sacrifice of a brother's love.